Fair warning before I tell this true scary story, do not watch it at night, do not watch it alone, I am warning you. Second part of the story might top the peeking wife. If you guys have ever heard that story, that one is creepy, and this one may top it. Also, I want to remind you to subscribe to the link is in the bio, where I will be telling longer versions of scary stories that I tell on here and different stories. That will be coming very soon. Also, if you want to tell me your true scary story and you want me to recount it on here, my email is kaisaspooky@gmail.com. It is also in my bio. Go ahead and email me there. Okay, let's get started. This person wanted to remain anonymous, so we're going to call her Kara. When Kara was 13 years old, she lived in a 3-bedroom house with a basement. So Kara's room was right across from the bathroom, and her best friend, who was 15 years old, came over. They always hung out together. They were having a sleepover on this night. They were just hanging out in her room on her bed, and across from her bed was a closet, and she had actually put a sheet over the closet door. So they were hanging out in her room and they fell asleep. After they had fallen asleep, they actually woke up around midnight, but this was not like abnormal for them because they always woke up around midnight for some reason. So Kara wakes up and she feels this odd feeling, like she's kind of scared. So she calls her friend's name to see if she's awake also, and she is also awake. So as teenagers do, they start talking about scary stories. They're talking about a time where Kara's sister experienced something crazy in her basement, and all of a sudden they see something moving in the closet. And at first they think that it's Kara's little sister, because Kara's little sister apparently likes to scare people and she does weird things. So the girls start to laugh and they're like, get out of the room right now, like we're hanging out right now, just leave. But it's not her sister. No one is in the closet. They can't hear anyone. No one's moving. No one is doing anything. And as Kara's best friend is laughing, Kara looks at the end of her bed and she just starts analyzing the end of her bed. For some reason, she has this weird feeling. When all of a sudden, Kara sees this black figure standing at the end of her bed, but it's like this little black figure just standing there staring at her. So Kara, to her best friend, timidly goes, "Look at the end of the bed." Her best friend looks, when all of a sudden this tiny little figure starts standing up super slowly and is just getting taller and taller and taller until it is hovering above them, and they are terrified. Kara starts going, "No, no, 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 no," while her friend gets under the covers. And this woke her mom up because she was saying no so loudly. So her mom comes in, the figure goes away, and she tells her mom what happens, and all her mom has to say is, "Listen, we've lived in this house for 8 years. If something wanted to get you, it would get you." Not the most comforting. The next part of the story gets even creepier, and I mean creepy. This is still in the same house. Her big sister, and her younger sister all slept in the basement because her big sister used to sleep in the basement, but she didn't want to sleep in the basement alone anymore. So she took Kara's room upstairs while the other 3 sisters took the room in the basement. One night they are all sleeping in the basement when all of a sudden they hear this big bang, like someone had fallen, and someone did. And this is what happened. Her little sister, littlest one, was on top of her middle sister while she was sleeping, just hovering over her, staring at her while she was sleeping. But she said that her sister did not look like herself. She looked demonic, with the scariest face she had ever seen. Her middle sister, the one that was laying down, that had the little girl on top of her in the face. She's 8 years old, but she was that scared. She her in the face, and that is the boom that they heard on the ground, was her little sister falling to the ground. The creepiest thing about this is after the little girl falls to the ground, she literally gets up like nothing happens, and she just runs over to her bed and gets in her bed and lays down like absolutely nothing just happened. They decided that they were just going to go back to sleep and they were going to tell their mom what happened in the morning. But in the morning, everybody was still asleep. Her little sister gets up again, but this time she comes over to Kara's bed. So she comes to the front of the bed where Kara's head is, and I guess there's a railing on the bed, because what she was doing is Kara wakes up. She literally just opens up her eyes, doesn't move her body at all whatsoever, and she sees that her little sister is just holding onto the railing next to her face, literally next to her face, holding onto the railing and just staring at her like this with that same face. So apparently when Kara opened her eyes, her little sister didn't notice that she had seen her, and so she knew she hadn't noticed she hadn't seen her, and she got really scared, and she said the only thing she could think of was to turn over so that she wasn't facing her sister anymore because she was terrified. So she turns over, rolls on her side, and she did this hoping that she would leave her alone. But she didn't, because then she falls asleep somehow after this, and she wakes up, I guess a couple minutes later, to her little sister laying right next to her in bed. She then said that as soon as she opened her eyes, as soon as her eyes opened, her little sister shot up like this, turns around, runs towards the staircase. Then she looks back at her and then runs to her bed. Kara said that she was so terrified that she absolutely refused to sleep anywhere near her sister ever again. She would not sleep downstairs anymore after this incident. And I actually asked Kara, like, if there was something mentally wrong with her sister. And she said that she actually thinks that her sister had like a dark entity attached to her, or she was maybe possessed in some way, because she would do stuff like this, like really crazy, creepy things like this. But that as soon as they moved out of that house that they were in, all of that stuff stopped. She said that she's still a troublemaker and still kind of causes trouble, but she is nothing like she was when they were in that house. When her little sister was on top of her big sister, she said that that was not her little sister's face. That was not her face. It looked so evil. So what do you guys think happened here? What do you think was going on? Do you think that her little sister had something to do with the entity that was at the foot of her bed? Or do you think her sister was possessed? Or do you think her sister was just being weird? Like, what do you think? Because I definitely think that something was going on, especially if they moved out of the house and I guess these characteristics that she was presenting stopped. That just doesn't make much sense to me. That is it for tonight, you guys. I hope you liked this story. If you did, please do me a favor and engage and leave a comment, because that helps me be able to tell these stories more for you guys. So if you loved the story, and only if you loved the story, do that for me. And if you like true scary stories, I give them every single night, hit that follow button. And I appreciate you guys more than you could possibly understand. Each and every one of you, I love you to death. So I will see you in the next one. Have a spooky night.